Hi, everyone. So today we have some great news. We are improving the Project X nodes by a lot. So first of all, let's just mention that this presentation is intended for informational purposes only and is not an offer or solicitation to buy or sell any securities. All investment strategies and investments involve risk of loss. Nothing contained in this material should be construed as investment advice. Users are advised to conduct their own due diligence and consult with professional advisors prior to making any financial commitments. Okay, so Project X started off as a project that involves Wall Street capital asset strategies. And now that we've had this project going for a while, we wanted to update everybody with some improvements that we see are very possible to do. And so we're taking these steps to improve the Project X nodes. Okay, so what is Project X? The asset, a limited digital license attached to an NFT. Utility, it participates in revenue allocations from two distinct divisions, secondary market activity and asset-backed tokenization. Three, the constraints, limited supply. Yes, we are going from 22,000 down to 12,000. That is a reduction of almost 50%. And we have a hard stop March 25th. So the way this was set up is on the secondary market, we have a deal. We call that deal number one, where we have a 15% allocation from the portion that Metaterra collects in fees. And on the second deal, we have an 8% allocation from what Metaterra collects. And on deal number three and ongoing, we have increased the participation from 4% to 6%, reducing the supply from 22,000 nodes down to 12,000 nodes, or as many nodes as we sell. So first of all, the deal, the 12 billion, is a finalized contracted deal. There will be $12 billion worth of secondary market assets that will be liquidized, and that will generate roughly, not exact, but somewhere around 450 million is estimated the gross allocation. So from this point on, I'm going to just speak on the numbers in terms of what we're estimating. So there's a fluctuation depending on certain factors, but these are the rough estimates of the deal. And you should see this as an overall participation of a percentage of what this company will do in this particular area of our of the business. So we're looking at this first deal generating somewhere around 450 million in gross allocation. And again, Metaterra has 40% ownership of the revenue. So that's roughly around 180 million allocated to there. And then 15% of that comes out to 27 million in the node pool. Now that is going to be divided up to those 12,000 nodes. Okay, now what was just announced is a deal that we did not have before, so we weren't able to share anything about, obviously. So this is a new contract that is being finalized, and that is with a company called Oando. It's one of the biggest oil companies in Africa, and that is through Wale Tinubu. And Wale Tinubu is one of the most successful entrepreneurs in Nigeria, if not the most successful entrepreneur in Nigeria. And Wale's uncle is actually the president of Nigeria. So he has now we're at the stage where Wale was agreeing to having this being announced. So Douglas did a interview on Wall Street yesterday, and it is public knowledge now. And so in this deal, the first phase is a $200 million tokenization of their oil reserves. And the way this is structured is it's like a fund, an asset fund. And so in that fund, there's oil and other assets that can be included. So this then falls under the node pool allocation on the 6% deal. This is the ongoing. So if you look at this, this is really just our first, outside of what we have announced under Project X, this is our first additional project. Now, this company has 5 billion um, barrels of oil in their reserves. And so it will be an ongoing tokenization of their oil. So this is just the first part to this. So it's a 200 million initial. And then in phase two, we will do a $1 billion worth of oil and tokenize it. Okay, so if you look at sort of the math on this, so 6% of the 200 million, 12 million allocated across the 12,000 nodes. Okay, so understanding Project X a little bit more in depth. So there's two revenue engines. So secondary financial market transactions. So this is going to be usually funds that are holding assets. They're holding shares, they're holding companies, various assets and funds, and they want to liquidate those assets. So basically, they want to sell those assets. Probable buyers are other funds. And so our company, Wall Street Capital Asset Strategies, have the knowledge and the experience to liquidate those. So this first 12 billion have a liquidation timeline of maybe 6 months from start to finish. And we've been in that timeline for about 2 months now. So once that's finished, then there will be a balloon payment to the Project X nodes. As everybody knows, Project X is paying currently $1.60 a day. And that will continue to go on until the balloon payment and beyond that balloon payment. And then there will be the balloon payment going, instead of going to 22,000 nodes, it will go to 12,000 nodes. And then we have the second revenue engine, which is the asset-backed tokenization. So this is a service that the company provides. So anyone with wealth or assets can tokenize those assets, and then Metaterra is part of the revenue and the fees and everything that goes into doing that particular process. Again, lowering from 22,000 to 12,000. We're increasing how much is being paid out by 50%. So we're lowering the inventory of nodes that are being paid, and we're increasing from 4 to 6% long-term allocation. So the nodes have essentially more than doubled in value with these two changes. Digital ownership means that that node is tied to an NFT. That NFT can also be liquidated in the secondary market. So if the nodes are building up in value over time, then you can look at a value of those nodes that can be realized by simply putting it up for sale in the secondary market. So a node, if you were to do an example, a node that's earning, say, $2,000 a year, is worth somewhere around $20,000 to $30,000 in the secondary market. So again, the packages that we're selling now, we're giving a lot of Project X nodes. So if you look at the value of those packages and you look at the value or the possible value of these nodes with a successful company, then it could possibly increase your valuation of those nodes for a resale in the future at a good rate. Okay, so this goes on until March 25, 2026. So get your Project X nodes before that. And just so that everyone understands that again, if an asset has a certain revenue each year, then a value is attached to that revenue where you can actually resell those nodes, and you can then, in a successful project, have a profit in between what you pay for it and what you sell it for. So just looking at, as far as how the whole crypto industry has worked, there's no doubt, it's very clear that Bitcoin has been the most successful asset as far as increase in value than anything we've ever seen. But if you want something a little bit more predictable, then buying a token or things like that, it's maybe a little bit more speculative than Project X, because Project X is tied to a service, and even the company BlackRock has come out with a statement saying that what it looks like that's happening is that all of the wealth of the world will be tokenized. If that's true, then there's trillions of dollars of wealth in the world that's going to be tokenized. So the companies that provide that service and partner in that process could see an extremely bright future, because there's a lot of wealth in the world. There's trillions and trillions of dollars of wealth. And before this, you weren't able to access the liquidity of holding, oil in the ground, and you haven't extracted that oil yet. So to be able to access that liquidity is what tokenization allows us to do. So it's a very, very interesting area to be part of. So if you're part of Project X, you are part of this new future of tokenization. So revenue participation tied to real world transactions, performance-based allocation. We have two distinct revenue engines, and you have a limited supply. So once we stop selling these, it will be over forever. As far as us selling, there will be a secondary market, and then the value of those nodes will be based on supply demand. Okay, so hopefully everybody's excited about that. And that concludes the information in regards to the Bellator Project X nodes. Thank you very much.